Hi everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, and I'm joined with Connor.
Hey everyone.
Let's talk about Fargo, Season 2, Episode 10, the season final of Season 2. The episode's called Palindrome. Full spoilers, as always, for Season 2, and only some minor spoilers for Season 1. Because Connor's not watched Season 1, so I'll keep it as spoiler-free as
It's fine
possible.
if it needs to be. If it needs to be for something,
It doesn't need
go
to
for
be,
it.
like, I don't think it really spoils much, but just in case I offhandedly mention something. But I do have to say, though, I hope you watch Season 1 soon,
I'll be watching it next week probably.
because this final had a lot of little ties to it.
Oh really?
Yeah, and I'm interested for you watching it in chronological order. Like, when you watch Season 1, you might pick up
Notice
on
things
things, yeah.
differently. Yeah.
Um,
No, it's fine. I'm okay with hearing
so,
stuff if that's
so
worth
Season
discussing.
1, no, to be fair, I can't remember any character names from Season 1, so I'll be vague enough that I don't think anyone will feel spoiled, but, um, so yeah, we start with a fantastic little montage of all the dead Gerharts, which I liked.
Yep.
And we had Patrick Wilson saying the opening text. It's usually text, but it's actually in this one it was Patrick Wilson saying it. You know, out of respect for the dead, blah 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 blah. All really good stuff. I have to say though, that this episode was probably one of the lesser exciting ones of the season, mainly because I don't know what
Everything went down. Everything went down last week, and this was just wrapping up the pieces.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what it is about cable shows, but for some reason, cable shows, the season finals tend to be the least interesting ones because they might have the first like 10 minutes still wrapping up the big climax thing, but usually the most of the last episode on this and a lot of other cable shows tends to be the epilogues and the wrapping
Yeah.
ups of
Yeah, I
things.
think
And
they do just treat it as an epilogue because they know people will look at it as a season by season, especially with something like this where it's an
yeah,
anthology.
I think it's just because network TV's got me so trained to have season finals be the big, thing.
It's usually the one before in
Yeah,
cable.
with
Yeah.
cable shows, it's interesting, but there's a lot to talk about here. There was no plot description IMDb, so whatever. Um, so
Yep.
Peggy and Ed, I should say. I swapped.
Kind of worked either way,
it,
to be
it
honest.
worked, yeah, but I said it the wrong way around. Uh, so Ed gets shot pretty quickly, and they spend half the episode in the meat locker inside a supermarket. And there's a lot of suggestive stuff goes on with the ending. Like she thinks he's smoking her out, like the film she was watching a couple of episodes ago. But it turns out he wasn't. He wasn't there at all.
It's all in our head.
All in her head. Um,
Crazy bitch.
but either way, Ed unfortunately dies in there from his gunshot wound.
Which is ironic because if she hadn't thought it was the Indian and wasn't going crazy, and she'd opened it at first to the cops, would Ed still be dead?
Probably,
'Cause-
but
but they might have that he died not straight away. Like he was in there for quite a while, just kind of slumped down.
yeah, he'd had more of a chance. But I still think he might have.
Maybe, but they were definitely knocking while he was still alive.
Yeah, yeah. Still, though, it was only like a minute later, so he probably would have been dead by the time any ambulance got
Yeah.
there or whatever.
But
Um, so, yeah, a lot of epilogues. So we'll tackle. I guess we just kind of tackled Peggy and Ed because that's kind of all it was. Other than her conversation in the car with Lou. Um, let's talk about Mike Milligan first, actually. Then,
yeah, I was wondering about that one actually.
because he goes to the Gerharts and he basically claims the house as his new throne because
It's a literal taking of the crown essentially.
yeah, because that guy who was sort of working with the Gerhardt shows up trying to steal the silver, and he gives him this little speech about being a new king, and he mentions to the kitchen brother, oh, when we go back they'll probably give us a parade because we did everything we were meant to, all the Gerhardts are dead. And then he got an ending which reminded me a lot of a character's ending on another show, which I won't say because it's a spoiler for that show. I don't think you've seen it.
Fair enough.
But it reminded me a lot of that, and people might realise what I'm talking about if they've seen that show. But he's done this because he's a bit of a cowboy and he wants to be out there and gain the territory and all that. And the now bald actor who I recognise from Halloween H2O, but he had hair in that movie. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because I spent a lot of the scene going, where the fuck do I know him from?
Oh, I hate when that happens. It's so annoying.
But that was the trick, is that he didn't used to be bald. He used to have hair, and now he's bald. And I was like,
that happens to lots of people.
It does, but like,
if you haven't seen him in a while,
yeah, like I hadn't seen. I mean, Halloween H2O was almost 20 years ago, so like it's been a while.
It has.
He was also in 8 Simple Rules a bit, actually, now that I think about it. And he's like, no, you've got a desk job now. It's all numbers and quarterlies and 70s are over. Get a proper suit and so on.
It's kind of sad.
It's kind of sad, and
especially after we got that cool, that shot from above where he just takes them out like chumps a couple of episodes ago. It's like we can see what he can do and where he's comfortable, and then he's kind of
it's just that's who he is, and
they're
putting him behind this desk because this is the promotion. It's kind of like, he's a man of the old west and the old ways, and that way's kind of dying. There'll always be enforcers for organised crime, but a lot of it's just like running a business just without the taxes.
Yeah.
And usually dealing in illegal goods, but so I thought that was interesting. I thought that was an interesting little end because his story kind of ends separately from everything else.
Yeah.
But what's the kitchen brother going to be doing then? I don't wonder.
Go work for someone else.
I guess.
Maybe.
We should talk about the Indian and his end, because he surprisingly doesn't actually, after he's shot Ed, he just kind of leaves. After Lou's taking a shot at him, he just kind of leaves, which I thought was a little bit strange. And then we get that one scene with them by the basketball court.
Yeah.
And the kids are playing. Now, you won't know this, but 2 of those kids are actually characters in season 1 as adults. And the reason why you know this is because one's deaf.
Yeah.
So you can connect it with the characters in season 1. And more interestingly, though, the Indian's like talking about what he wants to do and what he might do. He might go after the Kansas City people and kill them all. He might build his own empire, even if it is going to fall one day. But his last few lines of dialogue are identical to a character in season 1.
See, I was thinking this during the scene. Obviously, I haven't seen season 1, but he's talking about facial reconstruction and changing the entire shape of his face. So I was like, okay, maybe he's actually a character in season 1, and you just didn't know it this whole time.
Yeah. Now, the character in season 1 that he would be based on the dialogue is a little bit strange. Now, it is someone who's the head of like a mob, so he kind of get his wish that way. But in another way, I don't know, it doesn't sync up perfectly. But then again, you could look at it going, okay, he's not Indian anymore. He gets to not avoid all the racism bullshit because he became a white guy. I guess.
And it has been, what, 20, 30 years?
27 years? Yeah.
There you go. So it's a long time for people to change who they are. Like, you can be a completely different person.
It is. He seems shorter, though. Can't really do much about your height. But hey, whatever.
Maybe he just wears stacked boots and we just didn't know it.
It's interesting, though. There was a lot more little like connective tissue to season 1 than I was expecting. And at the end of the scene, it implies he's going to go out and stab one of the kids.
Yeah, it definitely implies that he was going to protect the 2 younger ones and like just take out the older ones completely somehow.
Which would make some sense, because if I remember correctly, those 2 characters work for the mob.
Right,
in
okay.
season 1, so
it's like he takes them under his wing.
Yeah,
it's kind of what happened to him as an Indian, isn't it? The Gerhardts took him in,
a little
and
bit.
they kind of made him their enforcer.
A little bit, yeah. So it's very cyclical.
Yeah,
put it like that way. So yes, I thought that was interesting. And I guess we should talk about Lou, his wife, and Ted Danson's character.
Like all this time, you still don't know his name. It's just
I don't. I think it's Hank, but he's Ted Danson. So actually, she has a dream at the start, a flash forward, and you get to see all the season 1 cast. In the flash forward, you get to see the actor who plays Lou as an old man. You get to see Molly growing up, and these are all season 1 cast. So you'll get to see all them when you watch it. So that was nice. That was a nice little surprise that they got all of them in just for that one.
I don't think it's as much a surprise after last week where they had Mind Freeman back in doing the dialogue.
Yeah, maybe, but it was still because it was all of them. Because I was like,
that's true.
Because when they started showing flash forwards of her like at college and or graduating high school and just whatever, I was like, are we going to go like to adults? Are we going to see the season 1 cast? And then sure enough, we got all of them, which was nice. So that's pretty cool. And his stuff was quite interesting. His story when he's talking to Peggy about Vietnam and the guy in the helicopter, like saving all of his family, and how he relates that to kind of understanding why Ed did what he did, and I thought that was all very interesting because it all comes to kind of a head to me. Because when his wife asks Ted Danson about the room with all the symbols, his little explanation for that kind of summed up the entire season for me.
Yeah,
because he talks about making his own language because, and as crazy as that sounds, because communication, often is it's the failure of communication that usually leads to violence and war, and that's kind of the entire season. Like everything happens because there's just a lack of communication. I mean, the Indian thinks that Ed's part of Kansas City because of what he sees, but
yeah. Even before that, when Peggy kills the Gerhardt brother, the car, and then she doesn't tell anyone, she doesn't communicate it. Like that sets up a lot of that stuff there.
So that right there's kind of that, but I don't know. It's just everything he was saying is kind of like is really what the whole season is about, and so many of the characters, have got a history in Vietnam and were in that war, and I think that plays a lot into the show, and it also shows that if you look at all the different characters, like Mike Milligan, he is trying to fight his way through and do all this stuff so that he can go up in the world, and he gets what he wants, but it's not really what he wants.
Yeah.
Peggy wants to have a change and become herself, and she just ends up in handcuffs and going back where she started because the system doesn't work that way.
I think there's something interesting. You mentioned a minute ago how it's all cyclical, and the name of the episode, I believe you said, was Palindrome.
Yeah.
And do you know what palindrome is? Palindrome is where if you take a word and you read it backwards, if you spell it backwards, it's the exact same word. So like kayak. If you spell or race car, like when you spell them backwards, they're the exact same. So it's always, no matter what way you look at it, it always ends up just going round.
Yeah. Because I think I almost think the entire season is kind of a commentary on the state of the US. Because a lot of it is the mob is kind of the corrupt system, and all the characters who are trying to get out of things and try to go do different things in different places either end up dead back where they started.
That even Mike Milligan, he thinks he enjoys the system and he's working it and he's having fun, and then he gets higher up and realizes that it's not what he thought it was. It's not what people think it is.
Because it all comes back to me, that scene with Bruce Campbell's Ronald Reagan, a few episodes ago, when Lou's in the bathroom with him and he's, and he admits all the problems and then he says, how do we fix it? And he doesn't say anything, he just sort of smiles at him and leaves. And I'm like, well, there you go. I don't know, maybe that's how I'm reading into it anyway. That's kind of what I'm seeing from here. And maybe, the aliens, like the point of the aliens is that we're reading into that so much, thinking there's some grand meaning, but it's actually a lot simpler than that.
Yeah. I also I really liked that that Lou and the other couple, they confirmed that there was a spaceship there and they saw it, and it wasn't just Because before Peggy was the only one who actually said anything, and then with her
Yeah.
being completely crazy earlier in the episode, I was like, "What was it? A flying saucer, or was it something different?" Like it
Hmm.
could. I was thinking, was it just a helicopter shining lights down, and we were just seeing her perception, like we did in the meat locker with all the smoke, where we thought that's what was happening.
Yeah.
But then they did confirm that there was a flying saucer.
Well, to be fair, they said aircraft or
They
spacecraft.
said spacecraft, yeah.
Yeah.
But then they said they couldn't put it in the record, so it was implied that it was the aliens. It wasn't something regular.
Something they couldn't explain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from. That is, it's kind of a bit of an analysis of the show, or yeah, like a bit of a commentary on the state of society, I guess. Which, oddly relevant as always.
Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate how these things are always relevant.
A little bit. A little bit. Because obviously we talked about Man in the Castle, and it's kind of scary just how much of that is still relevant.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't. We should be past a lot of this bullshit.
Indeed.
But of course we're not. But I was like the fact that all of them had passed in Vietnam, and I was sort of racing through my mind like throughout the episode. Is this really all about war? Like, and obviously there's elements of war all over it, but
I think it's not about war. It's about how an event that affects the world changes everyone's lives individually more so. But that can be extrapolated to government as well. Like they're an event, they pass down judgment, and then it affects everyone in these different ways.
hmm,
Maybe not.
I don't know. But there is stuff worth reading into. But I really do think that when Ted Danson explains his language and how it's a breakdown of communication, but sometimes you just write, like a box with a triangle on top of it is home.
Yeah.
I love hearts, love. Like sometimes it's a lot simpler than, we're too busy trying to interpret what someone's saying to us that we're not just taking it at the face value that it is.
Maybe we're doing that with the show right now.
Well, no, but it's
Maybe we're overanalyzing it. We should just
no,
take
we're
it
not,
as
because it's a fucking TV show with layers. Don't be a prick. You fuckwit.
No, I'm aware of that, but just think conspiracy theories. There's aliens out there, so why not?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Let us know what your analysis of this season of Fargo is. There's certainly stuff to read into. I also do think that Peggy imagining a situation like the movie she was watching goes back to the idea that she wants to live this idealized life that she doesn't have. And Ed basically breaks it down for her and says, look, there was nothing wrong with her life and you kept trying to fix it. You know? And maybe that's an opposing view to my it's a state of America analysis. Like, there's nothing that wrong. So, maybe my analysis falls apart there if I try to include that.
I don't know. I'm sure you can find a way to.
Maybe it's just about the fact that she feels trapped in her role in society, which is part of the problem.
Yeah, and that he's telling us that she should just accept it.
Yeah. But maybe she shouldn't.
Yeah, even if it does end up with potentially dire consequences.
I mean, because even Lou's wife says that, we all have a job in this world, and it's just that we do what we can with the time we have. And I'm like, do we all have a job in this world? Like, should we have a predestined role?
Yeah, so it's quite deep this last episode, really.
Because everyone kind of does have their role in this show, and it is cyclical, and they all kind of just end up back where they are or dead by the end. And I'm like, well, but we try and break out of it, and even if it is failure, do we still keep trying? Kind of bleak when you look at it that way.
It is. It's a pretty bleak show, though. I mean, look how many people end up just dead.
Yeah. Oh well. That's our review of the season final of Fargo. We're looking forward to season 3 next year, of course. Let us know what you think, whether it be comments or emailing us or whatever, or Twitter. Be curious to hear. So, season final of Fargo, pretty good.